Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dennae Handford, and my wife, Dennae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. On the podcast with us today is Zachary Beach. Zachary, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dan, thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on the show. Look forward to going over some tough decisions that I made and bring your audience some value.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to it as well. And, before we dive into some of these tough decisions, can you get us started by giving us a little bit of a brief introduction of yourself and your background as an entrepreneur and where your current focus is right now?
Sure. So I'm with a family business, SmartRealEstateCoach.com, where we help real estate entrepreneurs not only get deals done, but also build and scale their businesses. And we primarily focus on terms deals. So rent to own, owner financing, lease purchase, subject to deals, which we, if you so choose to, we can certainly dive into that at some point as well. Background was zero experience up until about 3 years ago in real estate. I was a bartender and personal trainer, and just being a young entrepreneur. I'm 28 right now and got about over 100 deals underneath my belt over the last couple of years. So at this stage of the game, just looking to help out other entrepreneurs build their businesses and get past some of those tough decisions that I had to make originally, and hopefully that can accelerate their business.
Sure. Well, before we dive into these tough decisions, why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of a background on what you're referring to as far as the subject tos and stuff like that. I know a little bit about it, but you being on here and doing it day in day could probably explain it a lot better.
Sure. Yeah. So as a family business, and I buy property with my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, and we do have a great support team. We buy property on terms, which terms means that you're not using your own cash, you're not using your own credit, and you're not looking for investors to supply you money either. So you don't going to go ahead and beg investors for money either. So what we're essentially doing is we're buying property on a contract. Could either be a lease purchase, which simply means that you're agreeing upon a price today. You're taking over 100% responsibility of that property. And then you have a date in the future in which you cash out your seller. And then on the back end, you're then looking for buyers who are not necessarily mortgage ready just yet, but just need some time. So someone had a legitimate hiccup in their credit, or self-employed, just needs time for seasoning. And by pairing those two together, you're able to create what we call our 3 paydays, which is money you collect at the beginning of the transaction and a non-refundable deposit, money you collect monthly as a monthly spread, and money you collect at the end when you actually get the buyer to the finish line to becoming a homeowner.
What's the most challenging piece to doing those types of deals?
Say the most challenging piece is really sifting and sorting to finding out, who you actually fit for, meaning there's tons of sellers out there that this fits for. It's just learning your scripts and learning how to understand when you have a seller that needs your help, and then when you have a seller that does not need your help. So it's really just sifting and sorting.
Well, let's dive into the first tough decision. And I like to start off with the sore thumb tough decision that I like to call it. It's such a tough decision that, didn't have that good of an outcome, but you learned a lot of lessons through that tough decision.
Sure. So I always love to tell the story about my first deal. So we'll hit definitely in the real estate transaction right now. So I bought a property subject to the existing loan, or we as a family, we bought the property subject to its existing loan, which simply means that we closed on the property. There was financing on the house, so there was a mortgage. The mortgage stays in the seller's name, but the title transfers to us. You typically find that with somebody who is selling their house for what they owe, and they don't want to come out of pocket to pay a realtor or pay closing costs. So we bought the house. I did not do enough due diligence on the property. I trusted the seller a little too much. Somebody in that type of position, I guess I should have saw some red flags there. We closed on it. We bought it. We come to find out once we placed our buyer in the property that the house had lead in it. Up here in the New England area, there's a lot of older homes. They have lead paint in the property. So we had to de-lead the home, which basically means we have to get rid of all of the lead paint in the home. And it has to be done through a very particular process in which the state has to approve it. That costs us $30,000 right off the bat. So we went from, okay, this is going to be a good deal, to here's $30,000. And luckily, in the long run, it ended up turning out to be, a pretty good outcome. But learning lessons there, I had 2 of them. number one is don't necessarily trust your sellers. Definitely do your due diligence. So even if you're not in real estate, just make sure any and all transactions that you do more than enough due diligence so that way you're comfortable and you know what the worst outcome could possibly be. And then number two was, luckily we had in place business credit lines. So it didn't, because a deal that's $30,000 and somebody doing their first deal like it was my own, if we didn't have our business credit set up, that could put somebody out of business. So my recommendations is always go ahead, if you haven't already, go get your business credit line set up in case you deal with some sort of cash flow thing like this.
Would this particular deal have been a no-go if you had actually done your due diligence and actually found out that there was lead on the property?
It wouldn't have been a no-go, but there definitely would have been a heck of a lot more probably negotiations on the front end where now we have any and all of our agreements do allow us to, if there is lead found on the property, push it back to the seller. So it would have been a seller's issue. They would have been the ones that would have to come out of pocket. Do I think that guy would have came out of pocket because you're selling the house for what they owe? Probably not. But that would have also, so the other thing is we probably wouldn't have placed the buyers that we had in our hand into the house. Meaning, if there's lead in the house, it's not a property that we wouldn't touch. It's just we wouldn't have placed buyers in the house that have young children in it, because it doesn't matter if they're adults. The reason why there's a huge discrepancy about it is because if children are eating lead paint, that's not healthy for them. So that's why every house needs to be de-leaded. So we wouldn't have placed that particular family in there. I would have been a lot more picky of who the buyers were.
At what point did you find out that there was lead on the property?
Yeah, so we found out after we placed the tenant buyers in the house. The tenant buyers then did which is a whole nother thing. I mean, these didn't end up being the best buyers in the world either, but the tenant buyers ended up doing their own self-examined lead test, because you can get like these small lead kits. And then after that, then we were notified. So then we went and did the regular lead test with the state, and then found out that, hey, basically all the paint needs to be removed, and that's why it was a $30,000 job.
Well, that's definitely a hard, lesson to learn, but it set the stage and set the tone for future projects, and has probably saved you hundreds of thousands of dollars going through that on your first deal.
Yeah, it only could go up, right? $30,000. So I took it as a great learning lesson in stride. We as a team and family team then changed our paperwork, our attorney paperwork. So we've saved probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on future properties already.
So let's shift here and talk about a tough decision that you had to make that had a really good and positive outcome, and some of those lessons.
Yeah, so I would say the best decision that had a really good outcome was me at 25 years old deciding to leave being a bartender. That's what I did for a living when I got out of college. I was a bartender and personal trainer, and actually make the leap into the family business. At the time, our family business was, we were doing a bunch of deals, but it was only my father-in-law and brother-in-law at the time. So really, we had to significantly grow our business in a short period of time, and we had to do that with me not knowing anything about real estate. Wasn't the most ideal situation, but I took the risk at that time, and I guess we all did as a family at that time, that okay, well, as long as we put our heads together and we work really hard at this, and we start creating systems and putting things in place, that we can scale this business enough where we're all going to be very comfortable in the near future. But at the time, there was nothing. There's really nothing promised. I understand I was working with my family and my father-in-law and brother-in-law, but I didn't get a salary. I didn't get anything like that. It was definitely deal by deal, and that's how we still run it. So it was okay. Well, let's do our best here and see what happens. I just knew that it was going to be better than bartending, so it was worth the risk.
Well, we had interviewed your father-in-law on the podcast a couple of months back, and that was one of the things I remembered is, that the family business. And, one of the things I'm curious about is what are some things that you guys do to make that work? Because if you see some other, businesses and family-run businesses that a lot of times, you get into that second and third generation, it just doesn't really work properly.
Yeah, so disclosure, not everybody should join and partner with their family. I definitely don't recommend it. I don't know if I could partner with like my own brothers, but it just happened to work out. We all just wanted to surround each other with the most hardworking, dedicated people, and that just happened to be us three. And then we have a great support staff now as well. So what we do is you're really going to be, number one, super transparent with everything that's happening. When you're dealing with family and you're dealing with money, transparency is huge because you don't want, money and business to ever affect what goes on in your family life. We are very close. It's not like we just work together. We ended up playing together as well. We travel a lot together. We go on vacations together. I have my son. So Chris is his grandfather. So, his grandparents are always over our house. So it's very close. So transparency is key. And then the second thing, without getting too deep, is you just got to know when to kind of shut the door on its business is over and now it's time to go hang out with the family. Of course, we're entrepreneurs. Business always gets brought up, but as long as it's only positive things that are happening in the business, that's fine at the dinner table. But anything negative, leave at the office because we can tackle that in the morning.
Share some strategies with us that you like to do when you're facing a tough decision.
Yeah, I'm huge on, number one, I consult others. That's the reason why we have this family business, is to consult each other and make sure, hey, we all have different perspectives. We all come from different lines, different places. So we all have a unique perspective. So consulting others. Number two, I'm very much on, let's kind of get out of where I currently am, meaning if I'm sitting at the office, I need to make a tough decision. I like to either go meditate or go exercise or go take a walk around the block, kind of clear the air and allow myself to, just take a step back. So that would be the second thing that I like to do in order to make a tough decision.
Well, let's take a quick break here. And then when we return, we'll talk to Zach about a series of quick questions and answers that we like to call the trifecta. Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com. And we are back with a series of quick questions and answers with Zachary Beach called the trifecta. And I want you to start us off, Zachary, by talking to us about your favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier every day.
Yeah, I like to use the app Asana, or it's asana.com. It's really a task management system. I also have it on my cell phone. I'm definitely somebody who's a visionary and always has a ton of ideas. So I keep that on my phone. So when I think about, things that maybe we want to implement to the business or tasks that need to be brought up in the future, I then just hop on my Asana app, write in the task, write down a description, and then I just assign that date or date it for whenever it needs to be accomplished. And then that way I can just release it from my brain and move on.
What's a favorite quote that you've heard that's helped you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, mindset is everything. I got a board right behind me. It's like a picture of this goldfish that's under the water, and above the water is a shark fin. And right on the canvas it says mindset is everything. So I constantly am focusing on my mindset. Super short quote, but effective.
What's a favorite book that has helped you make better decisions as an entrepreneur?
The Big Leap is a good one by Gay Hendricks. It talks about getting into your zone of genius. So that has allowed me to make some decisions as I've grown as an entrepreneur. It has helped me make decisions on, okay, where do I want to focus my time and energy? And that should be in your zone of genius, or a place where you not only get gratification from, but you also are super effective and are probably more effective than others.
What's the next thing for you right now on your vision or your dream board?
So there's always a ton of things, but I don't think I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Right now, we are still going after our mission, and that is to empower individuals and families by dominating the real estate mentoring market. So we're constantly focusing on that until we reach our goal in 2022 or by 2022 of, helping associates do 1,500 transactions. There isn't anything else that we're focusing on.
Well, how can the listeners reach out to you if they have more questions about, the services that you provide, or just want to jump on a call and kind of dive into a little bit more detail on what you're doing?
Sure. So there's two things I can do for you. So I definitely, for being on here and having me on, I definitely want to give away our Amazon best-selling book, Real Estate on Your Terms. I'll give that to you absolutely free. No shipping, no handling, no nothing. All you got to do is give us your address and we'll send it out. So go ahead and write this down. It is free, SRECbook.com. So that's free, FREE, SmartRealEstateCoachBook.com, free, SRECbook.com. And then while you're waiting for that, I would just dive on into SmartRealEstateCoach.com/webinar. It's a free webinar. It's going to give you an hour's worth of content, a bunch of great nuggets in there. So that way we're constantly giving away free content. And when you go through that webinar, make sure you stay all the way to the end because we will give you a free strategy call. Tends to last about 15 to 20 minutes where you'll speak to one of our teammates and we'll go over kind of what your next steps are and how we could potentially help you and answer any questions you have.
Well, Zachary, I want to thank you for taking some time to be with us here today on the podcast. Looking forward to continuing to follow you as you grow as an entrepreneur and having on a future episode as well.
Thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.